All right, it looks like we're live. Hello again. Welcome to our cyber briefing series, How to Hack Proof Your Business, 15 Ways to Protect Your Business from a Cyber Attack. My name is Melanie Padron, your go-to cybersecurity girl. I'm also the Director of Business Development at IT Architects. We are a veteran-owned and operated MSP, a managed service provider with a security-first mindset, which it just means we focus heavily on proactive cybersecurity to help businesses minimize and avoid damage from cyber attacks. And today I'm joined again by my special guest, expert and friend, Keith Bell, president of MTS IT Solutions, also an MSP located up in York, Pennsylvania. So Keith and I are both members of an elite global group of cybersecurity experts, and we meet every week with our peers and colleagues to just brainstorm and share ideas and kind of stay on top of what's happening in our industry. So Keith, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me again. How's your week?
Great. Thanks for having me again, Melanie. It's always a pleasure. Just busy as usual. You know how it is being in the IT world. Is never a dull moment. This week we've been rolling out voice over IP phone systems for a couple of our clients, and of course, if you remember from last week, I'm just counting down the days till I can get out of here and go on vacation. And the great thing about that vacation, it's part vacation, and the other half of that time we're away, we're going to be actually doing the quarterly meetup of our cyber group. So I'm really excited to catch up with everyone and see everybody in person.
Yes, vacation, so exciting. My week's been pretty good so far too. Thursdays are always my Chamber of Commerce meetings, and I'm a newly appointed ambassador for our Chamber Works meetings, and it's just
congrats.
Thank you. It's so good to connect with all just the local businesses in our community. We've partnered with the Chamber because we really are on a mission to protect as many local businesses as we can. Trying to think what else. My middle boy turned 16. He's getting his driver's license tomorrow and a new truck.
Happy birthday to him.
Yes, thank you. I'll take all the good vibes and safety prayers anybody wants to send. And I think school starts for us next week too. So just, fun times.
Busy. Never. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, all right, we've been going through this series, How to Hack Proof Your Business, 15 different ways businesses can protect themselves from cyber attack. And I can't believe it, but this week we're on week 12 of 15. So we're kind of coming to the end here. And this series has actionable steps that businesses can take to protect themselves from cyber attacks. And let me just go ahead and throw up our little infographic on the stage. Here we go. So this week we're talking about SIEM log management, and SIEM stands for Security, Information, and Event Monitoring, which is super important in cybersecurity. So we're just going to unpack why it's so critical for a business to review and analyze, or partner with a security expert that reviews and analyzes all the events and security logs from all the covered devices to protect against these advanced cyber threats that we're seeing more and more of. But before we get too serious, I always like to bring a little humor to these techie subjects, and that could mean just one thing. It's time for my cyber joke of the week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Try not to laugh too hard. All right. Why did the SIEM go to therapy?
Knowing what a SIEM does, I'd have to say information overload.
Oh, that's good. That's not the answer, but it could be. The answer is because it couldn't stop over analyzing everything.
That makes complete sense. Very good, Mel. I like that one.
Oh, I love it too. All right. So we'll just dive in. The purpose of a SIEM, a security, information, and event management system, it's to monitor and to analyze security-related data from just across an organization's network. So it collects logs, I guess, of information and event data from various different sources, right? It identifies potential security threats or an anomaly, and then it provides real-time alerts to help with threat detection and incident response, which we know that when there's a security event, time is of the essence. The faster you detect a cyber attack, the faster you can respond and minimize or avoid damage from it. So Keith as our guest expert. Can you help us understand just on a basic level, because most of us aren't techie, on a basic level, what a SIEM is and just the important role it plays in a business's overall cyber strategy?
Yeah, so let's try to break this down non-technical in a
Yep.
real world analogy. Let's think of it like, so you got your office space, your workplace, whether it's just the office space, warehouse. We're going to have cameras everywhere, monitoring everything. You got lots of important stuff in your rooms and your warehouse. So we have the cameras, which kind of act like the collecting of the logs, right?
Okay.
So, and then you have to have somebody keeping an eye on everything as well. So just having the cameras isn't enough. You need somebody to be constantly watching them all the time, understanding what's going on, and then alert you if something suspicious is happening. So a SIEM in that respect is kind of like a smart security guard who's watching all those camera feeds, which is your logs,
Yeah.
and analyzing them for unusual activity and be able to quickly alert someone that there's a potential threat. So, this way you can kind of respond to the issues before they become a bigger problem.
That's a great analogy. As you were talking about those cameras, I was thinking cameras just watch it, but you need that security guard to alert you when they see an anomaly or something out of the ordinary. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the top benefits of having a SIEM? Like, what can a company expect? How can they expect to benefit from one?
Well, I mean, it's about constant monitoring and alerting of any suspicious network activity. I mean, that's the benefit of having a SIEM. You kind of got, constant monitoring, suspicious network activity coming in, threats. Here's the thing: it's both local and in the cloud. So,
right.
A SIEM is going to provide you with a centralized visibility of all these digital assets and online systems. And, the great thing about a SIEM is you can actually integrate that with your cloud apps. It's important to have a SIEM monitoring these cloud apps because, we hear it all the time. People are like, we're safe, our data's in the cloud. But despite that perception that cloud services are secure, they're really not. And they're still vulnerable to various threats. So, the cloud apps are targeted by cyber attacks also, and maybe even more so than your local networks these days. So, unauthorized access, data breaches, they're happening every day. So a SIEM really helps by providing that continuous monitoring and analysis of these apps, detecting unusual activities, going to be alerting us to, potential threats. And it's going to ensure our cloud environment remains secure and, business data and everything is protected. So.
Yeah. I'm just thinking to your point about the cloud being so safe. I hear that all the time. And we've learned that 82% of attacks happen in the cloud. We know this. IBM told us that last year, or this year in their, was it the cost of a data breach report that they did? But, the CDK global attack that happened to all the auto dealerships just a few weeks ago, the criminals have figured out that they don't have to hack 15,000 auto dealerships to get access to them. They hacked one cloud-based software provider that serviced all those auto dealerships. Yep. And so it was just one attack that got to everybody. So I think that's such a great point that you made.
Yeah, we're seeing that more and more often now. They're these supply chain attacks because, like you said, you can target one system and get 15,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why it's very important to really be monitoring your cloud apps and what's going on out there as well.
Yeah. So it's not just your security you have to be concerned with. It's your vendors, it's your suppliers, it's your cloud software. It's really everyone around your business that services or supplies your business. Anywhere that you're using technology, you have to be concerned about their security as well as your own.
Yeah. So, I mean, it all boils down to, this day and age, you need constant monitoring and alerting. You really do.
Yep. All right. So I'm just thinking as a business owner, what challenges would a business owner face? Like if they want to implement or, try to maintain and monitor a SIEM solution on their own, what challenges would they face? And then what benefits might they expect if they partnered with an MSP or an expert?
So, okay, implementing and maintaining a SIEM solution can be like trying to watch 100 security cameras at once. It's challenging because it requires that constant monitoring, understanding what's normal and what's suspicious, and having the right skills to manage it all. A SIEM kind of brings this all together in a centralized platform for you, so we can get data from all these different systems coming into one area to monitor. I think for organizations to set up a SIEM on their own would be pretty complex and hard to do. This is where hiring an MSP, a team of security experts who can guard and watch those cameras for you, to alert you to these issues and be able to respond quickly. It's in this scenario, there's some things that can be done on your own, but I think with a SIEM, you're best to hire a security team to monitor and manage all that for you. That way you can focus on running your business, and we'll handle all the security details in the back end.
Yeah. We're the experts in security. You be the experts in your business. Everybody's operating within their strength, and that's when the business runs the most efficiently and effectively. Yeah. I would think that would be hard. Okay. Can you think of like an example in your expertise of a time when a SIEM has helped you detect and respond to a security incident in real life? I would think, I know, based on just even my short time here at the MSP, that the quicker you identify an event, the quicker you respond to it, you minimize that damage. Sometimes you avoid the damage altogether. The minute those bells and whistles go off and alert you, if you can isolate and remediate at that moment, that we always say that it's a cliche. We always say that the blast radius is minimized. It could be this big explosion, this big cyber attack, but if you respond to it quickly, you mitigate that. You minimize the blast radius, right? So do you use your SIEM? Like, how do you use that every day?
Yeah, so in fact, last week we had a SIEM set up for a client, and we actually were able to detect and stop a business email compromise. It was a case of what we call impossible travel. So the SIEM had recognized that this particular user had logged in location A, and then in location B, halfway across the country. 2 minutes later, they signed in again, and the SIEM was able to detect that and be like, this is impossible. There's no way. So it alerted us, and we have automated responses in place that we automatically went in, blocked that user's account, signed them out of any device they were signed into. So we were able to stop a business email compromise, which we all know can lead to detrimental damage. Could be ransomware, could be financial loss. So yeah, the SIEM is very important for detecting stuff like this. So real case sample of how it just protected one of our clients last week.
Yeah, I remember last year we had just transitioned one of our larger clients to our full cybersecurity stack. Had some little canary files in there, started going off, bells and whistles alerted the team. They sprung into action. We were able to shut down. A full forensics investigation was done, but we were able to stop what the forensics company said was a sophisticated new attack, ransomware attack out of Russia. And that was because our SIEM did its job, picked up on some anomalies, alerted us. We did our job, got everything, like you said, isolated, and I mean, I feel like we're superheroes. Like we are.
I was going to say, that's the day you feel like a hero, Yes, like all the stuff we're doing, we're seeing it in action. We could have just saved our client thousands of dollars or whatever the case may have been. So yeah,
makes you feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, well, let's transition over to our hack of the week segment. Last week we talked about the CrowdStrike attack, and though that wasn't a cyber attack, it was an example of a major technology outage. And we know that anytime there's a vulnerable situation, criminals are going to try to take advantage of it. And one of the ways they do that is through social engineering, by using our humanness against us. And so I wanted just to talk broadly and generally about what social engineering is. It's becoming more common every day, and I think it's really important that we talk about how criminals are using social engineering to steal personal information and money, as well as how people can spot and avoid these types of scams. So can you just give us a general description of what social engineering means?
Well, to your point, yes, we're seeing this more and more lately. I mean, the MGM breach. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was a
Yes.
social engineering. So
Yes. Good example.
yeah, so social engineering is when the cyber criminals are trying to trick people into giving up their confidential information. Maybe trying to get them to reset their password, get in somehow. So instead of hacking into systems directly, they play on emotions like trust, fear, or urgency to get you to reveal your passwords, maybe financial details,
Yeah.
because sensitive info that may be detrimental, right? So
Yep.
it could be through phishing emails, it could be through fake phone calls, websites that look legit but really aren't. Their goal really is to like kind of sneak their way into your data without you even realizing it. We actually have a story of social engineering that happened to a firm that called us up. It's been over a year now, but they were a CPA firm, and they had somebody email the receptionist and say, "Hey, we're new to the area. We just moved in. We have a business. We need a CPA to help us out. Are you taking new clients?" And of
Okay.
course, they're like, "Absolutely, yeah. Send me your info." Blah blah blah. A couple
Yeah.
days go by. He sends over a PDF file. They open it up. It was infected with malware.
Oh,
Went
no.
in, copied social security numbers of all their clients from their computer. The hackers were actually able to file fake IRS tax returns and have the refund money wired to their accounts.
Wow. That's wild, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mess for the CPA firm. I mean, it cost them tons of money to recover from this, from notification to
Yeah.
paying for identity protection for the folks, getting their systems back online, getting the recovery. So it's a mess all the way around for everyone involved. But yeah, that's what social engineering is, and we're seeing it more and more often now.
Yeah, and that doesn't even account for the trust that you lose with your clients and the reputational damage. I can imagine that it would be, if my CPA got hacked, I might say, hey, I don't know that I want to come back to you again. You didn't have enough security in place or the right security in place the first time. So I don't know if I trust you anymore. If someone
Right.
got my information and I can only imagine how much money they got in tax returns.
Oh, I know. And I'm not sure if those folks ever got their actual the legitimate people ever actually got their refunds back. They said they would when I was working with the FBI and everything on this, but I don't know if they ever did or not. So
Wow.
yeah.
So
Now this particular company, they did wind up signing on with us and implementing our full cyber stack so they can prevent this going forward. So
bet I just hate that it has to take that type of an event to make people realize that they really do need this comprehensive cybersecurity solution. You can't just piecemeal it together.
no,
Try
unfortunately, it's human nature. We need to learn the hard way, right? I mean, even think about it as kids. Your parents say, "Don't do that." You do it anyway, and you're like, "Oh, now I realize why they said don't do that." Right?
don't touch that hot stove. Oh, why? Oh, now I know why.
Now I know exactly. Yep.
I mean, I imagine social engineering is like a thief who, instead of going, goes to the trouble to break into your house, to pry open your door, to crash through your windows, they just kind of trick you into giving them the keys to the house instead. It's just a trick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, we know that 95% of attacks are attributed to human error. So it actually makes sense that a criminal would take advantage of our human nature rather than some brute force type of attack. I mean, like we talked last week, CrowdStrike outage, which wasn't actually a cyber attack, but criminals are using that situation now. Like I read a warning, the state of Texas sent a warning today because criminals are using the CrowdStrike outage as a situation to create social engineering scams. And to some of the points that you made, they could send a personalized email that appears to be from a coworker asking to download an attachment. They could call pretending to be from tech support, trying to convince you to give remote access to your computer to fix a problem. Yep. Or they could send an email that looks like it's from a legit company, like with a link that goes to a fake website designed to steal your login information. Just anytime there's a vulnerable situation like that, criminals are going to be on it, and we have to stay vigilant and be aware of those scams. So on that vein, what are some ways that we can spot and avoid these types of scams?
Well, I mean, always be skeptical of unsolicited requests, right? Someone just contacts you out of the blue, whether it's an email or a phone call, asking for sensitive information. Be cautious. Try to verify their identity before sharing anything. And if you feel this is suspicious, hang up. Don't continue to stay on the line and talk with them, because now they're recording the calls. And if you're speaking long enough, they can regenerate your voice in AI. And I was actually just speaking with someone about this last night. That happened to his father. That's another thing. They're targeting elderly on this as well. But basically, at the end of the day, they called him, were getting him to speak long enough that they could regenerate his voice in AI. Turned around and called his bank, had him reset the passwords, got in and stole $100,000.
Oh, my stars.
So, I mean, besides not giving any information, just don't even talk. Don't even let them get to your voice so that they can record it and then regenerate the AI. But, also, always double checking email addresses and links that you're clicking on. Hover over the link, make sure it's going to where it actually says it's going to be going.
Right.
I mean, they're pretty tricky at disguising these links nowadays as well. Look for any red flags. Often these scams will kind of create some sort of sense of urgency or fear to get you to act on emotion, right?
Yep.
And of course, always, make sure all your accounts have multi-factor authentication, just as a second step there. Even if you were to somehow leak your password to them, if a two-factor code is going to come to your phone or your email, it's going to, stop the attackers from being able to get in. To some degree. I mean, MFA can be bypassed, but at the same time, it's an additional layer of security to help.
Yep. It's a non-negotiable today. And I think those were all really great tips. I always tell people my little thing. I wish I knew who coined this phrase so I could give them credit, but I always tell people to be politely paranoid. And, we should stay especially vigilant during any type of technology outage, anything that's unexpected. Like you said, that creates this emotional reaction. Oh my gosh, anything that has a deadline, that sense of urgency, just pause, take a deep breath, remove your emotions, and use critical thinking. I don't think we do that enough anymore today. Just ask yourself, does this even make sense? And, don't be afraid to, like you said, stop the conversation to validate the identity of the person you're talking to. If you called me and something seems suspicious, I could say, hey, Keith, what's the name of that group, we were in this week? What was the name of that group we met at on, Tuesday afternoon? It would be something that only you knew, something that I could ask you, that I could verify it really is you that I'm talking to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we both work for MSPs. And, we do recommend partnering with a security expert for some of these, especially some of these more complex ways to protect a business. So what are some ways that MSPs protect businesses from social engineering?
Well, on the human level, it's about cybersecurity awareness training. Training your employees to be able to be politely, what did you say? Politely
paranoid.
Right. Teach them to be politely paranoid and look for and spot for these sort of things, suspicious calls, suspicious emails. Mm-hmm. That's on the human level. And then from the technical level, we'll put in advanced filtering to block these malicious content before it can even get to you. So taking the responsibility away from the human aspect of it. A lot of times we'll run simulated phishing attacks for our clients. That way it's kind of just keeping them on their toes, making them aware. And if they fail or click on a link, it's going to send them over to watch a video on that particular email that was sent to them and how they can, be more aware next time before they go clicking on a link.
Right. Yeah, you're right. We do all of those things too. It really is about being proactive and keeping that security tight and responsive,
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I think this has been such a great conversation. I know we've been talking here for about 25 minutes, which is a little longer than we try to, but I just want to thank you for joining me again this week as the guest expert on our cyber briefing. I know, as you mentioned, you'll be on vacation and at a convention for the next couple of weeks, so we will definitely catch up when you get settled back at home. I hope that everyone has found value in what we've discussed. I mean, if you have, please engage by liking, commenting, sharing. This helps more people see the content we create, which means that more businesses and the people behind those businesses are safe, which also elevates the overall cyber resiliency of this great country of ours. I encourage you, Don't wait for a breach to occur. If you have questions about a SIEM, or if you need help getting a comprehensive cybersecurity solution in place, reach out and schedule a strategy session with either Keith or myself today. Neither one of us charge for a cyber strategy session, which gets you pointed in the right direction and just a plan of action for going forward. So if you want to know if you're prepared, give us a shout. I mean, we want to help you stay one step ahead of the bad guys.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I guess until next time, it'll be a couple weeks, but we'll see you guys all on the safe side.
Sounds great. Thanks again for having me, Mel.
Yeah. Have a great vacation.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.